Rest Easy Inn. Robert's eyelids drooped like metal curtains, each blink a battle against the pull of sleep. The dashboard clock of his battered Toyota glowed 2:17 a.m., its digits blurring into a haze. He was on the long haul from Los Angeles to Denver, a route he'd driven a dozen times, but tonight, the Colorado highway felt like a labyrinth with no end. The road snaked through dense pines, its black asphalt swallowing his headlights' feeble glow. No cars, no stars, just Robert, the endless road, and a fatigue that clung like damp rot. He'd been driving for over 6 hours, stopping only once for gas and a coffee that tasted like tar. His hands gripped the wheel, knuckles pale, as he fought to stay awake. Just a few more hours to Denver, he told himself, but each mile marker seemed to taunt him, stretching time into a cruel eternity. His thoughts wandered to his childhood in California, to nights spent listening to his parents' hushed arguments through thin walls, their voices calling him Bobby when they thought he was asleep. He'd hated that nickname, insisting on Robert by the time he was 10. Then, like a mirage, a neon sign flickered into view. Rest Easy Inn, vacancy. The words pulsed red against the night, a beacon of salvation. Robert frowned. He didn't recall any motels on this stretch of US 50, but his body screamed for rest, and the sign's glow was a siren's call. He signaled, pulling off the highway onto a gravel lot that crunched under his tires like brittle bones. The parking lot was oddly full for such a remote place. Cars lined the spaces, but they looked wrong. Some had rounded fenders from a bygone era, others bore logos that shimmered and shifted, and one seemed to have wheels carved from wood, like a child's toy gone wrong. Robert shook his head, blaming exhaustion. He parked between two of these strange vehicles, grabbed his backpack, phone, wallet, keys, toothbrush, and stepped into the chilly night air. A faint smell of burning rubber lingered, though no smoke was visible. He locked his car and trudged toward the inn's flickering entrance. The lobby was a mausoleum of decay. Faded wallpaper peeled like dead skin, exposing moldy plaster. Paintings hung crookedly, depicting landscapes with twisted trees and skies dotted with too many stars, their constellations alien and wrong. The air was thick with must, laced with a metallic tang, like old blood. The front desk stood empty, a tarnished bell and a dusty guest book its only occupants. Beside the book lay a small pamphlet titled, Guest Guidelines. Robert picked it up, its pages yellowed but legible, listing cryptic instructions. Lie to everyone. Bolt your door. Dive underneath. Do not stay longer than needed. He raised an eyebrow, assuming it was some eccentric prank, but the words stuck in his mind like burrs. He slipped the pamphlet into his pocket and tapped the bell. The clang echoed too loud, as if the room were amplifying it. No one came. He rang again, and a faint shuffle sounded behind the counter, like someone stirring in the dark. "Hello," Robert called, his voice swallowed by silence. A door behind the desk creaked open an inch, and a pale hand slid out, placing a metal key on the counter. The tag read, "For Bob, room 237," in smudged ink. Robert froze. He hadn't given his name, and no one called him Bob, not since childhood, when he'd begged his parents to stop. The key was ice cold, biting his fingers. "Thank you," he said to the empty room, his voice trembling. The lobby felt alive, its shadows watching him. He clutched the key and headed for the elevator at the lobby's far end. The grated door screeched as he pulled it open, revealing a panel of buttons in chaotic disarray. Negative numbers like -2 and -13, absurdly high ones like 1001 and 666, and others written backwards, 37 for what should be 73. No logic governed their order. Robert scanned for 2, settling on a button between -1 and 13 that felt right for the second floor. He pressed it, and the elevator lurched upward, gears grinding like a beast waking from slumber. The elevator jolted to a stop, doors opening to reveal a middle-aged woman in hiking gear, her face weathered but her smile warm. "Going up?" she asked, stepping in, her backpack clinking. Robert nodded, the pamphlet's words flashing in his mind. "Lie to everyone." "I'm on a business trip," he said, though he was on vacation. Unexpected stop. She studied him, her eyes sharp. This place finds those who need it. But it's not what it seems. Stick to what feels right, and don't trust your eyes. What do you mean? Robert asked, unease coiling in his gut. Don't look where you shouldn't, and don't linger longer than you must. The elevator dinged, and she stepped into a dark hallway. Good luck, she said, vanishing as the doors closed. The elevator resumed, stopping again. Robert stepped into a hallway that stretched endlessly, its threadbare carpet stained with dark patches. The wallpaper peeled, revealing damp wood. Doors lined the corridor, their numbers jumbled. 101 beside 305, 13 next to 666. Faint sounds drifted from behind them. Whispers, laughter, a muffled sob. One door's peephole glowed faintly, beckoning. The hiker's warning and the pamphlet's advice echoed in his mind. He kept his eyes down, focusing on the carpet's faded pattern. But near a door marked 404, a low chant grew louder, rhythmic, and hypnotic. Curiosity clawed at him. He leaned toward the peephole, heart pounding. Through the glass, he saw a room filled with shadowy figures, their faces twisted into grotesque masks. In the center, a man who looked like him sat bound to a chair, eyes wide with terror. The figures turned, as if sensing him. Robert stumbled back, his breath ragged. Just a trick, he told himself, but his hands shook as he hurried on. The hallway twisted illogically, branching into impossible crossroads. A headache throbbed behind his eyes, the air thick with unseen malice. Finally, he found 237 etched into a door. He fumbled the key into the lock, slipped inside, and bolted the door, recalling the pamphlet's instruction: bolt your door. The bolt clicked with a satisfying thud, but the room offered no comfort. The space was wrong. The bed was too small, dwarfed by a cavernous ceiling. A dresser sagged with mismatched drawers, and 6 chairs formed a circle in the corner, as if waiting for a seance. The air was cold, and the bathroom door was shut, water dripping audibly inside. Robert knocked. Anyone there? Silence. He tried the handle, locked. He turned on every light, their harsh glow revealing more oddities. A lamp with no cord, a mirror reflecting the room at a slight angle. He barricaded the adjoining door with a chair and checked the windows, finding only heavy drapes. The TV flickered on, showing a sitcom with laughter that sounded like screams. He shut it off, the silence worse. He climbed into bed, the room's faint hum pulsing in his ears. Sleep came reluctantly, haunted by the image of his doppelganger. When he awoke, he wasn't in bed. He was in a hot tub, water bubbling around him, though it felt like liquid ice. The pool area was a cavern of flickering fluorescent lights, casting jagged shadows across cracked tiles. The main pool's surface was unnaturally still, a mirror reflecting the distorted ceiling. Beneath it, dark shapes glided, long, sinuous forms that seemed to writhe with purpose. The air reeked of chlorine mixed with something foul, like rotting meat. A radio on a nearby table played a warped, "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," its notes grating and off-key. Robert's heart raced as he scanned the area. Pale figures lounged by the pool, their skin almost translucent, their eyes vacant. A woman in a vintage bathing suit sat on a lounge chair, her smile revealing teeth too sharp, too many. "Join us, Bob," she whispered, her voice echoing inside his skull. He flinched at the name. "I'm not Bob," he said, but his voice wavered. The pamphlet's words surfaced: dive underneath. He took a deep breath and submerged himself in the hot tub, the cold biting his skin. The water was murky, and as he reached the bottom, he saw not just the locket but faint ghostly faces staring up at him, their mouths open in silent screams. His fingers closed around a tarnished silver locket tangled in the drain. He yanked it free and surfaced, gasping, his lungs burning. The other guests watched him, their gazes unblinking. A man in swim trunks floated in the main pool, his body unnaturally buoyant, his eyes fixed on Robert. "Stay with us, Bob," he said, his voice a low gurgle as if speaking underwater. "No," Robert snapped, climbing out of the hot tub. His clothes were folded on a chair, dry despite his submersion. He dressed quickly, the locket heavy in his pocket. The woman laughed, a sound like shattering glass. "You'll be back." They all come back. The pool's surface rippled, the shapes beneath pressing closer, as if testing the water's edge. Robert hurried toward the exit, his wet shoes squeaking on the tiles. In the hallway, exhaustion hit like a wave, his vision blurring. A bench stood against the wall and he collapsed onto it, closing his eyes for just a moment. The world spun, and when he opened them, he was back in his room, lying on the bed. The locket was still in his hand, the room unchanged. Or was it? The chairs seemed closer together, and the bathroom door was now ajar, though he was certain it had been locked. Disoriented, he sat up, his mind reeling. Had the pool been a dream? But the locket was real, its weight undeniable. He opened it, revealing a faded photo of a family, parents and a young boy who looked like him. On the back, in faded ink, was written Bobby's 10th birthday. His stomach churned. He hadn't been called Bobby since childhood, a name he'd despised. He shook off the unease and gathered his things. It was time to leave. He headed downstairs to the breakfast area, open despite the hour. The food looked plastic, shiny bacon, glossy eggs, fruit too perfect to be real. A man in a crisp suit sat alone, his smile too wide. "Bob, join me," he said, gesturing to a chair. Robert froze. "How do you know that name?" The man chuckled. "We know all our guests. Sit down, let's chat." Wary Robert sat, the pamphlet's warning ringing in his ears. "Do not stay longer than needed." The man launched into a pitch about the inn's wonders. "You could stay here, you know. No need to rush back to your life. It's peaceful here, forever." The word forever hit like a cold spike. "I have to go," Robert said firmly. "People are waiting." The man's smile didn't falter. "Are you sure? You'd be happy here. Everyone is." A strange longing tugged at Robert, but he shook it off. "No, I'm leaving." The man sighed. "You'll be back, they always are." Robert stood, his legs unsteady, and hurried to the lobby. The desk was empty. He placed the key on the counter, its weight heavier than it should be, and walked out to the parking lot. His car stood alone, the other vehicles gone, as if they'd never existed. He drove away, the inn fading in his rear-view mirror until it vanished. The highway stretched ahead, but unease gnawed at him. He glanced at the passenger seat and saw the locket. Opening it, he stared at the photo, himself as a child with his parents, labeled Bobby's 10th birthday. He had no memory of it, no idea how it ended up here. The road hummed beneath him, and for a moment, he swore he saw the neon sign flicker in the distance. He gripped the wheel, telling himself he'd escaped, but deep down he wondered if the Rest Easy Inn would ever let him go. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like, comment, or share this video with your friends. Subscribe to our channel to hear more stories like this one.